Thanks for joining. My name is Qodo. I'm co-founder and CPO at Qodo. And with me, I have here Ophir Friedman, who is one of our AI engineers and a core contributor to our Qodo Merge product. And we have Sergio Lupo from Google Cloud, who is a machine learning specialist. You guys want to say a quick hi?
Go ahead, Ophir.
Hey, nice to meet you. I'm excited for this meeting and looking forward to chat about the new Gemini 2.5 Pro and Qodo Merge.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm Sergio Lupo. I'm an AI/ML specialist from Google Cloud, basically working with our customers, helping them with everything related to AI/ML, MLOps, Gen AI, also classical ML. So thank you very much for having me, and really looking forward for this conversation.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, we're very excited about this partnership with Google Cloud and kind of doing this, having this conversation together. Okay, so let's get started. Today, the topic of conversation is code review, and we're going to talk about what it means to do code review in this AI era that we are now in, and what it means to bring the right context for code review. So just as a little bit of context, when we talk about simple software, most of the focus in the market is around code generation. And generally, when it comes to simple software, if you're trying to create a simple app from scratch or website, really code generation is all you need. Typically, with the capabilities of today's models, Gemini 2.5 Pro is one of them, and so some of the other models also with other major providers. With a few prompts, you can get to have a really nice working application. But when it comes to enterprise complex code base or code bases, code generation is just a start. Really beneath the surface is what we call code integrity. And this is what it means. When we say code integrity, we mean how the code is actually integrated into this complex enterprise environment. Okay, so when we say code integrity, we really mean how do we make sure that the code is first aligned with the requirements, so actually doing what it is intended to do, covering all the different edge cases and the requirements that we're actually trying to implement. Is it compliant with the best practices of the specific team, of the organization as a whole? Is it well tested? Is it well reviewed? Is it maintainable code? Is it high quality production grade code? This is what we mean with code, like when we say code integrity. And we believe that in order to really boost productivity for developers working with complex code bases, especially in large enterprise organizations, you need to really nail this concept of not just generating code, but also verifying that your code is of high integrity. So as I mentioned, the topic of today is code reviews. And when it comes to code review, typically in the typical process, a developer works on a set of changes, maybe a bug fix, maybe like a new feature. They typically open a pull request with their branch of the changes. And then comes the actual code review. Now, if we're only focusing the code review on the actual changed code, we may be missing critical context that might be needed in order for a model or even for a human to have the full picture of what are the potential impacts of these specific code changes. And this is where context is becoming really, really important. Bringing the relevant context at the stage of the PR in order to provide good, tangible, high quality suggestions is critical. And at Qodo, what we do is we bring in this information using a technique called RAG. So it's Retrieval-Augmented Generation. And I'm going to explain in a minute here in a few more details, in more detail, like what RAG means. But before that, let me open it up to Ophir and Sergio Any thoughts on this? Like any past experiences that you've had where you were doing a code review or you were actually opening a PR and the context like was really important in order to provide high quality code review. Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you think about the reviewer looking at a PR, this person, this human, have lots of context in their head, right? And they know how to, you could say, use their own RAG, internal RAG, to collect relevant information in order to review the code. So it's a critical feature in the process of reviewing code changes.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I can also add to that yeah, also is just coding as a hobby. There are many parts that I might not want to add manually to maybe to the context of when an agent is reviewing a PR and having this RAG capabilities that can scan a large corpus of data and pick the right pieces of info is really helpful, kind of taking away this manual step of choosing which exactly files to incorporate, except for the obvious ones, let's say.
Makes sense. Okay, so yeah, a little bit more on the kind of the technical process of what is RAG and how does it work. So basically, RAG stands for Retrieval-Augmented Generation, and it's basically the process of taking a query, and this query can either be a question of a user, it can be the actual code that we're trying to review, and then bringing in additional information from a separate corpus of data and bringing it together to the LLM in a concise and meaningful manner for the LLM to be able to then generate a meaningful response. In our case, it's around reviewing code and highlighting potential issues or deviations from best practices or things along that line. So the first step when you do RAG is actually indexing the code base or maybe even additional relevant data sources. So this process starts from the code base. It goes through chunking. So it's basically taking what in many cases can be even thousands of repositories and basically chunking them into kind of logical chunks of code. And this is where there's a lot of differences between like natural language, when you, for example, do RAG for English, or with code. With code, you want to make sure that these chunks make sense, that you don't want to break, for example, a function or a class like in the middle. You may want to do some hierarchy. You may want to add additional metadata for each one of these chunks. Then once you chunk the code, and this can be obviously can vary based by language. And then for each one of these chunks, you basically create what is called an embedding vector. It's converted into a numerical vector that essentially represents the meaning of the code. And then this is being stored at a vector database. Then at query time, the actual query, which as I mentioned, can either be the user query, if maybe the user is asking a question, it can be the code of the PR or both, are being then transformed into an embedding, again to an embedding vector, which is then being used to semantically compare it to the previously indexed chunks of code. And then based on similarity, like we would retrieve the relevant chunks. We actually use Qodo embed one. This is our own code embedding model. We've identified a few months back that there was a missing code embedding model in this space. And an embedding model that is focused specifically on code. This is where we worked and released Qodo Embed, which achieved state-of-the-art results. So that's the model that is used to actually produce the embedding, both in the indexing step and in the retrieval step. And then after the chunks are retrieved, so this is what you can see here, the process. There is actually another part of the crucial part of the process, which is the filtering and re-ranking step. So let's say we had a bunch of candidates of code that is potentially relevant to the query at hand. It then goes to a process of filtering and re-ranking, where we also leverage an LLM during this process to actually giving the specific task, the specific question, specific step that we're in, what are the actual relevant chunks of code that we want to bring in into the context here. And really the what we try to do here is on one hand find the most relevant code, but then not overload the context with irrelevant code, because this can confuse the LLM, it can produce eventually inaccurate results. So this is kind of the process that we're doing. Ophir, anything you want to add on this?
I think just to emphasize that it's not common embedding of text to text, right? It's code, so that's a different and unique challenge, because language is one thing, and translating it into for, if, and else, that's a challenge, and this is why we have our own in-house model to solve that.
Makes sense. Sergio, any other comments or thoughts?
Yeah, maybe. So just kind of pointing to that like there are many moving parts, both in like the generation of the vector DB, like all of the embedded chunks, and also at the retrieval. And there are like many, let's say, hyperparameters. So it's interesting, like this is a really secret sauce and building all of this together. And I'm guessing also that sometimes you'd like maybe to also add between the user query and the embedding, maybe another LLM that kind of takes the query and maybe better understands it, or maybe splits it into a couple of options before doing the retrieval. And maybe also kind of not only doing like a semantic search or similarity, but maybe also a keyword search. So probably, yeah, a lot of things going on. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good point. So this is kind of like one way to like I guess the simplified way to describe this process. Things that we're now starting to do more is combining additional techniques, like you mentioned, like keyword search. Another thing that we already have like an initial version is like an initial working version that we're going to release soon is what we call agentic RAG. Which is basically the ability of the RAG engine to actually decide, basically make it an agent that can decide whether it needs to bring in more context. Maybe the first, maybe it can automatically create a different query. So given the task at hand, it will decide on a specific query, will run the entire pipeline, get results. Based on this result, it will say, hey, maybe I didn't get the answer that I was looking for. So maybe I need to try a different query and run another pipeline. And doing this in an agentic manner. Another thing is like, especially when you talk about like large code bases and many different repos, like combining language servers in this process to kind of traverse the code. So these are areas that we're actively working to build our next generation RAG. And like I can't help like not sharing that our entire RAG system was today announced on stage by Jensen Huang in GTC Paris. Basically, NVIDIA, we have a partnership also with NVIDIA, and I mean, this was already announced publicly, so I can speak to it. And they are working to embed our entire kind of RAG system inside of their code base. So this is very, very exciting partnership for us. I can potentially, maybe later I'll show the picture of Jensen on stage. So this is kind of an exciting moment that just happened to us today. So yeah, so this is about the process. We do have our benchmark for Qodo Merge, which is our code review product, and I'll touch in a minute here a little bit more about the different products that we offer at Qodo. But this is like basically comparing Gemini 2.5 with this is like just actually a head-to-head comparison with Claude Sonnet 4 on 400 like real-world examples of PRs. So this is kind of in the standard mode of Gemini 2.5. But what's interesting is when you actually switch to the thinking mode and you give a thinking budget to Gemini, it actually produces really good results. It's really like kind of like it serves. We actually have pipelines of different models that we combine together for code review, but the thinking part of Gemini and actually kind of reflecting is very powerful. And generally, it's been amazing to see the progress with the Gemini models over the course of the past year. So, very inspiring, and we're very excited about continuing to partner with Google on this. Any anecdotes or things you guys want to share in this context?
Yeah, maybe just to clarify the thinking budget. So with this new version, you actually can use Gemini 2.5 Pro and kind of set as a parameter how much time or how much tokens you want to let it think. And you can tell it, okay, don't think a lot for this problem, or you can tell it think a lot on that problem. It changes like the latency, it changes the performance, and it's really great to see like these results that you're showing here.
Awesome.
Also, the latest release that allows you to control your thinking, to have a precise value to pick. That's is a very powerful feature because you can fine tune time latency, right? When you're working on production against quality and so on, and get the best of this model.
Exactly. Perfect. So a common kind of question that we hear, and definitely kind of a debate in the market, right? Like as the context window of LLMs is constantly increasing, like do we actually need to still have these kind of techniques, or should we just stuff everything in the context window of the model? What we find is that especially with large, complex code bases, it's very useful to pre-process the code, to map dependencies, to index the code, and to make sure that we retrieve the most relevant information. And it's true, like context windows are increasing, but it's not like a magic bullet that just stuffing everything or maybe bringing in a lot of irrelevant code. We are seeing that in our internal benchmarks that degrades the results. So we're strong believers in this process, in this technique of both RAG, but then also like leveraging additional capabilities, agentic capabilities, using LSPs in the process, but actually bringing mapping the relationships in the code base and bringing in the relevant information in a more processed manner improves the results. So that's a little bit on this topic. Yeah, so basically with very large window, it's like you can think about it as an engineer. Like the more you get like useful like processed information that has explanation, that it's like basically using additional compute to pre-process the information, to rank the retrieved chunks, to take out irrelevant ones, and even to do that in an agentic manner, produces better results, but versus just trying to stuff a lot of context into the context window. So that's just a little bit on that. A little bit very quickly about Qodo. So Qodo Aware, this is our. So I don't know if you're able to see the slide. I'll just pull it up completely. Can you see the full slide now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So basically, this is kind of our architecture slide of what we provide at Qodo. Qodo Aware is our code-based understanding layer. So this is where we index and process large code bases with techniques like RAG and agentic RAG. We do support different models, and we even combine the different models together in certain scenarios. Qodo Merge is the product that we're going to focus on in this presentation. This is our code review product that is meant to help developers to make the pull request process and the code review process a lot more efficient, to make sure that code is well reviewed, aligned with the company best practices. And it's provided both as a Git app, and it integrates with the various main Git platforms, and also as an MCP now. So you can also integrate it into IDEs. It also integrates IDEs or other areas of your SDLC. It also integrates with Qodo Gen, which is our code generation and essentially kind of a custom agent platform that allows developers to generate code, but also generate tests, and also cater to different use cases across the SDLC. Qodo Gen is today provided through IDE plugins to VS Code and JetBrains and soon Visual Studio. And we're soon going to release a very highly configurable, highly customizable CLI tool that can run in different areas of the SDLC as a GitHub action and also run in the background. And all of this will be combined into our Qodo Studio web app. So with that, we focus on, and just one more thing to emphasize, really our focus is on complex enterprise code bases. Kind of the thesis behind the company from day one was that really in order to leverage Gen AI, and as developers become 10x more productive and they become kind of like these orchestrators of agents, really you need to make sure that you are able to review code at scale, that you're able to make sure that code is aligned with the best practices of the organization. And this is where Qodo Merge comes into play. So the process kind of with Qodo Merge, basically the first step when you install Qodo Merge, it reviews your past PRs and it analyzes the different patterns that you have in the organization, and it does it on a per repo basis. And it basically auto-generates a set of best practices that serves as kind of your starting point. And again, this is done on a per language basis, on a per repo basis. And this serves as a starting point for developers to then tweak and tune these best practices to fit their specific needs. Then when a new PR is opened, Qodo Merge is automatically triggered. We'll see this in a minute here in the demo. It collects context from both the PR, additional data from the repo, using RAG to do that. The actual best practices that were defined either at the org level, the repo level, tickets. So if the PR is connected to a specific ticket in Jira or Linear, for example, it will bring that information in. And then it will auto-generate a description for the PR, level of effort. It will summarize the PR, and it will try to flag specific issues and find specific bugs and areas where the code might be misaligned with the best practices. And then you can also interact with it. And soon we will show this in the demo. You can ask questions. You can ask it to implement the suggestions. And the idea is to really make the pull request process a lot more, and the code review process more efficient, both for the developers and for the reviewers. For developers, this really streamlines the process of preparing for the PR. So you can use the Qodo Merge MCP to get the suggestions before you open the PR. So detect the issues early and kind of like shift left, and really not need to wait for their initial review from other developers. So you use AI to get the initial review. For reviewers, you can kind of prioritize the PRs based on level of effort. You can review the changes a lot easier because everything is described and documented, and you can ask questions. It also flags the issues that are easily detectable, and even some tricky ones as well. But it kind of leaves the reviewer with the more deep like detailed or like the deeper review that is of higher value versus trying to flag like very common issues or things that can be flagged by AI. And by the way, the task of code review is actually very good for AI because the AI doesn't care if it's like 5 files or 50 files. So there's no like issue of fatigue or things like that. And then for managers, you can also track the impact. So you can see how many suggestions are actually being applied. You can use Qodo merge this way to make sure that the actual code is aligned with the requirements. So this is what we mean by ticket compliance. And also make sure that best practices are enforced across the organization. Yeah, so as of today, around 50,000 PRs are scanned by Qodo merge every day at very large enterprise organizations, and also in like smaller organizations. So it really helps to improve the time for code review, so lead time. The burden is lessened on the senior developers. We help find critical issues sooner, minimize tech debt, and also help the new developers onboard faster to the code base. And great. And maybe this is a good point to pause. I think we're good on time. I'd love to hear, Sergio, Fear, any comments or thoughts about what I just walked through, and then we're going to move to a deeper demo of Qodo merge and how we use RAG in Qodo merge. But yeah, let's open it up.
From my point as a person who develop Qodo merge, we continuously, almost live, look at new model and compare them, benchmark them, shift. We have various level of responsibilities within the tool to optimize them. I mean, it's a whole system that we keep alive as much. I mean, on maximum level. So having Gemini released it was very exciting to us. A few months ago, we already had this feeling that it's a big thing, and we started following it, slowly using it, and we're very excited about the latest release with the tunable reasoning that allow us to get it to production. And one thing unique about it that we noticed that even with significantly large context window, you still get very precise, to the point answer on even very niche, tiny questions. So it will be very interesting to hear about Google side, your slides, and learn more.
Yeah, man, from my side to add, yeah, there was this article, needle in the haystack, and like it's still an issue, but a lot of it was addressed. So like as you said, Ophir, really seeing it also in action at the field is really great to see it from our customers. And maybe Daddy, just to touch also on this point of context size versus RAG. So there is also this balance between, even if you're able to stuff all of your information into the context window, like you need to balance it with latency. So having a larger context size means it's slower basically, and so it doesn't make much sense to stuff it if you want to use it quickly. So there are a couple of other advantages of doing smart RAG.
Right. Context, like obviously latency and costs, right? So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, also cost. And it's like what you're doing here is really important because like without your kind of solution, we might kind of wake up in half a year from now or a year from now and find out that we are like in like different organization in huge technical debt, in unmaintainable code. So really, like on the one hand, organization needs and want to move fast. On the other hand, you want to maintain the ability to move fast. And as your technical debt grows, you become slower. So really critical.
great. Perfect. Like I'm now going through the questions and I'm thinking like there's many questions. It's great. And we do want to be able to get to the demo. So I think what we will do is we will get started with the demo. Maybe we'll just maybe ask a couple, maybe we can answer a couple of questions. Is the difference in performance depending on programming language? Generally, like Qodo Merge, we find that it works quite well in the variety of programming languages. Yeah, like C, Python, Java, TypeScript, all these kind of major languages work really, really well. Like esoteric languages sometimes, um, are less performant. But yeah, the recent one I've seen was there's something called I think it's called ABAP or something like that, like an SAP language or something like that. That somehow it actually worked for it, and I was surprised. But yeah, all the major programming languages are definitely supported. Yeah, and about referencing PRD and documentation. So yeah, we already have integration to bring in information from ticketing systems like Jira and Linear. And we are going to add using MCP, we're going to add additional integrations into Qodo Merge. You can already integrate into Qodo Gen using MCPs, and you can combine that with Qodo Merge MCP. So you can do that there as well. And in the CLI that we're going to soon release, you'll be able to integrate essentially anything you want, including Qodo Merge and any other MCPs. So yeah, with that, I suggest we move into the demo and then we can tackle additional questions
also
as
have
time permits. And
we also have the slides from Google side. Maybe we would like to.
You mean there's other slides from Sergio?
I prepared a couple of slides, but I can also save them to the end or maybe after the demo. I think like the demo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Okay. So Fear, moving to you.
Okay, thanks, Daddy. Would you like me to take over the screen, or we will do it through?
I'll do this couple of slides and then I'll switch it to you for the.
Sounds good. Great. So what we're gonna do here, or what my part is going to be, is two sections. The first one, we're gonna take a tool, one of the tools that we have in Qodo Merge, explain what it does and how we benefit from RAG in this tool as a use case, and then we will go live on GitHub and compare the same PR with the same code one time with without RAG, and on the other side with RAG. The tool that we pick for this webinar is the implement command. The idea of the implement command is to reduce time and improve precision for the reviewer when they look into the code of the developer that opened the PR, and instead of giving an open sentence request about the code, the reviewer can type /implement once the code is selected on the div side. In the video, it's GitHub, and just type /implement and what is my request. And what Qodo Merge will do in the background, it will take the code, it will analyze the request, and generate a change, a committable change. And then the reviewer can even iterate on this suggestion. And once the reviewer arrives, the developer of the one that opened the PR arrives, then you have code with meaning. It's much easier to understand what was asked from the developer, and this could, I mean, any of us, any person could think about the long iteration that might occur. Maybe in some point you even have to stop talking on GitHub and meet, right? Just to close gaps. So there you go. You just have it. Just calling the command and having the solution. So that's the implement tool. If you can please move to the second slide. I think.
So do you see the before and after?
Yeah, exactly. One comment that I wanted to say in the previous slide, but we also have it here. You can see that we are supporting multiple. It's okay. It appears in both slides. You see wiki support GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, etc. That's also a feature of Qodo Merge that we have wide support for many Git providers. What we see here is a very simple example. Between the two screenshots on the left, we have on both we have the same code and the same request, but on the left we have a solution without RAG. We ask the model using the implement command to add a logger. So imagine you are the model, you know everything about the universe code base, right? But you don't know what happened in this repo, right? So naively, you will import logger, which is the default most common one in Python, and just use it. I mean, it makes sense. It's not the wrong solution, but it's not the solution expected from member of this specific team working in this specific PR based on the code base that is accessible, but you need RAG for it. Because in the current PR, there is no other logger. There are loggers all around, but not in the current PR. So you need to go outside of it and fetch more context. And this is exactly what happened on the right side. It's again, same code, same command, everything is the same, but we have RAG enabled. And here you can see that we have the get logger function over there. So it's a global logger that you can call from anywhere, and when it's initiated, it collects more information. I mean, it's the common practice of this repo for how to log information. So it was only possible by taking this request saying logger to the RAG and querying logger code to see how it should be done. And then when you send it to the LLM, it makes sense, right? Like, okay, that's the way you want to do it, then sure, I will give you the logger you need.
Perfect.
Thanks. So, and now let's look a bit under the hood. That's the flow of this specific command, just to have some feeling of how we integrate Grag within our flow. What we have is two rows here. The one below is the user sending the implement command with a task, and the one above is us, Qodo Merge. What we do is we process the user message. We need to detect what was asked from us. We need to collect the content from the request, from the code, build everything, and then we generate the query, which is extremely critical part in this process, because what we send in the query, it's the content, it's the vector that eventually will be used to collect data, right? So if we need to think about what context do we have in each specific command. In the case of the implement command, we have some code, we have some text, how we build it, how we process it. So this is a critical part. Then we send it to the RAG engine. We search, collect results. We filter them with unique condition we have in Qodo Merge to filter the best result, the most relevant one. And then finally, we re-rank them to see which one is the most useful. At the end, we combine everything together, generate the code suggestion, post-process it to be sent to GitHub, for example, and publish the result, which the user will be able to see on the other side.
Great, makes sense. So we move to the demo.
Exactly, yeah. So if you have anything to comment before, we can open it up, and if not, I can move forward to the demo.
No, I think this is would be great to move to the demo.
That's good. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Good, great, thanks. Okay, so as promised, what we have is a a PR that we have opened. The repo is an open source repo dealing with semiconductor, various instruments to collect data, signals and sensors, etc. And what we have done, we made some improvement to the code. And on the left side of the screen, we have a PR that was previously open in advance with rug disabled, no rug in there, just the command of Qodo merge. And on the right, we have a ready-to-go PR, which in a moment I will press the create pull request to see what we got. And this one will be powered by rug. So let's go ahead. What you can see while we wait for Qodo merge to start giving its response is that usually when we open a PR, we don't have a lot of content in the description. I mean, most of us are very busy. Maybe we give a link to Jira or Linear, which Qodo merge is integrated to and can collect data from. Most of the time, we don't give a lot of content, and for the reviewer, that's kind of a pain, right? The reviewer comes in and needs to quickly understand what is this PR, why it was open, what happened inside of it. So as you saw live a few moments after we opened the PR, one of the tools that's called the scribe command populated the description of the PR with main highlights of what happened, which file were changed and what was changed inside of it. So if you could imagine a big PR that can give you lots of sense of order before you dive in. So this happened automatically. Next, we have the review tool. This tool gives you some key insights, some effort value for the review. You know, do I need to find a window in my work day to review it, or can I do it in 10 minutes with my coffee in the morning, something like that. I have a feeling of what am I facing, and also if we have some tests or if they are missing security concerns. And over here we have two parts that give you some focus area. Let's also scroll down on the left side, so you can immediately have a feeling of the difference. So the first part, which is shared between with and without rug, is Qodo merge, looking at the code changes and finding some critical places that request the reviewer attention. Could be issues, whether bugs or logic issues, and offer a solution of how to address them. And when we implement the rug, we suddenly see a new section. This section became available only because we now look outside the code in the PR. And when we start traveling to our code base beyond the current PR, we suddenly see different issues. Maybe some code is clean, is perfect, is correct, but it will not work because it's not the way it should be done, right? And you cannot know it from the PR. I mean, the model cannot know that something is wrong without the knowledge, without the context. So this place here, for example, formula inconsistency, it probably went outside, found a couple of equations which should be the same, and give us a response. Look, the equation that you have in the PR is wrong, and this is actually true. One of the things I did is break some math equation in this PR, and on the left, I mean, how can you know that? How can you know that you should divide and not multiply? It's not wrong to do either of them, right? And you're given a reference, you're given further context to read. We give lots of effort to make everything compact and easy to digest, and you can always open the tabs and dive in. Also for the reviewer, we give a list of reference. This is for deeper reading. Sometimes it's very useful to open the links, see which reference were given. It's probably a very relevant code that is similar to the PR, can enrich your thoughts when you're reviewing the code. So this is the review command. Next, we have the code suggestion. Here we have fixes. It's outside the focus of this talk because it's not yet with Rag, but it's a very important part that can give you code suggestions. And now we move forward to the ask command. And on the left, I gave a question to CodeEmerge. I will explain in a moment what is it while we give it also to the RAG powered PR. So what I did here is there is a function that we change in this PR. And I want I just ask a question, how this function is implemented elsewhere. It's called wait for complete. Now you can see here without RAG, the model is quite honest. I mean, look, I can only see the implementation of the wait command in, this is the name of the file we are at. So the model is being honest. He says, I don't know, which is what we would expect. Now on the right, that's a completely different response. I mean, we have a long explanation of how it's done elsewhere, and some differences, and you can see it right straight from the beginning. It doesn't say I cannot find it. It found it. So you can imagine that you're in your PR and you can, ask questions about things that are not within the PR and will allow you to better understand either as a developer or as a reviewer. In both cases, you might want to ask questions and get more context. The last command I want to show is the implement, where I ask for it to work as it's been commonly done. And you already, while I make it work on the right side, you can already expect that on the left side, it cannot, I mean, there is no way to know how it's commonly being done, right? There is no information about that. This is, by the way, the implement command that we talked about before. So I'm going to line 541. I want to do exactly the same to be fair with us with that. Okay, copy paste, no changes, everything is identical. While we let it run, I will tell you about the Chrome extension we have. We actually also have in CodeEmerge a Chrome extension that you can that you can install and have some private conversation about the code. Sometimes you don't want to introduce noise to the PR. You want to keep it clean, but you want to talk with a model about some aspect. So you can see it here. You can install it and use it. Great. So on the left, it was guessing, maybe looking at the diff, at what was done before the change and taking it as a reference. I mean, there is no way to know how it's commonly done elsewhere. And on the right side, it picks references, and it actually, if you look at the code, there are some changes done that resemble it to different places in your code base. And we also have a feature called chat with CodeEmerge, so you can actually start a conversation here to refine the change and then commit it when you're done. So that's the end of the demo. And the point here is that using RAG, you can leave the borders of the PR and explore your code base and explore how your common practices, either team or company, and get it into inside the PR and get better results from CodeEmerge tools.
Thanks, Ophir. I just want to answer thanks for the great demo. I want to answer one question from Nitin. that's saying, I'm confused, is your product RAG system or merge code system? So the product that we just demoed is Qodo Merge. It's a code review product that is meant to streamline code review and make code review a lot more efficient, make sure that code is aligned with best practices, catch issues, and also implement comments, as Ophir was showing in the demo. So that's called a merge. It uses RAG in order to bring additional context. And this is kind of the topic of this webinar, like to actually do a deep dive into how we do RAG and how we use RAG. So this is why we're talking a lot about RAG. So yeah, I just wanted to answer that. Great. Sergio, do you want to cover a couple of things on your side?
Yeah, I prepared a couple of slides. Maybe I don't want to take a lot of time. I want to leave maybe time for answering another question, and I'm guessing you'll also answer some questions offline. But it's kind of an invitation to check a couple of resources also related to Gemini 2.5 and also to RAG in general. So kind of taking a step back and just showing a couple of resources you can check out related to RAG in general, related also to Google Cloud. So maybe just quickly let me know if you can see already my
Yeah.
screen. Okay, so basically Vertex AI is a managed platform for AI ML where you can build your AI apps, and it supports different kinds of building your app. So it could be no code, it could be low code, and it could be full code with full customization. And here you can kind of take a snapshot and then go to the link with some documentation about Vertex AI and understand about it. And basically about Gemini 2.5, as you said, it's really good and advanced with coding. It has enhanced reasoning and also something maybe less related to code, but it's natively multimodal, which means you can also use it and give it as part of the prompt also videos, audio files, images, and ask it to understand them, to say something about them. So really a great model, and the long context as we also discussed. Also, if anybody wants to see a couple of the benchmarks, then it's on the DeepMind side, but also in different places. And a bit about Vertex and RAG solutions. So basically, there are different components under Vertex AI that you can use to build RAG, and it starts from out of the box. And under Vertex AI, we have Vertex AI Search, where you can basically take your PDFs and put them in a bucket and run Vertex AI, and then after a couple of minutes or after longer time, depending how many PDFs you have an API, and you can just send to this API free text, natural language, and get basically the best result, like chunks or results, and it's out of the box. So this is Vertex AI. There is Vertex AI RAG engine, which is also managed, but kind of striking a balance between do-it-yourself and out of the box, where you can choose the embedder, you can choose where you want to store the chunks and the embeddings. And then there is a searcher builder platform option where there are different APIs under Vertex AI in Google Cloud just to do ranking, just to do grounding on results that you already have. So kind of pick and choose and building what you want from different APIs. So this is a couple of words about RAG. And kind of also inviting people to check out GitHub repository Generative AI, where you have a bunch of notebooks that demonstrate how to do a RAG engine, how to use Vertex AI, how to use Gemini 2.5 Pro and getting started. Obviously, and of course, also check out Qodo site to learn more about Qodo. So a couple of resources to check out. Yeah, that's on my side.
Awesome. Thank you, Sergio. Perfect. I guess we can, so we already answered 31 questions. We have 11 open, so we can try to use a few minutes to tackle these questions. Actually, maybe before that, I'll just want to comment that you can go to Qodo AI to obviously to learn more about our products. You can try out all of our products, have like a freemium offering where you have a certain amount of capacity that you can use for free. And then you can switch to the paid plan. either self-serve, or if it's like if you're with a large organization, you want to do kind of a more tailored proof of concept or proof of value, would be happy to do that. And also we are SOC 2 Type 2 compliant, so we can go through all the approvals, and we can do kind of a tailored trial period for your team. So that's just a little bit on that. Yeah, let's see if there are any other questions that we can tackle here. Estimated effort to review, that's an interesting one. So basically there is kind of a scale of 1 through 5, where 5 is, I would say, is like typically quite complex, that will take maybe, I don't know, more than an hour maybe to review, right? 4 is like pretty complex, but not like super complex. And then like typically 1 and 2 is like maybe a couple of changes, and typically it gets reviewed really easily. So that's on that scale. Obviously, as you experiment with the system, like you'll be able to see how that scale works. And I don't know if you want to add any comments on that, or like from your experience.
It is that's a good question. It's been repeated a lot, and it's very legit. It's generated by the model, and it's not absolute quantitative by some specific equation. So you take it with a grain of salt. It's a ratio. It's a scope of complexity. It's I know there are teams, for example, that works with effort numbers, right, instead of time, to have a better with time you get a better feeling of the effort of the task at hand, which when you use time, sometimes it's just wishful thinking. So you can think about something like that, only it's been given by the model responsible for answering for generating this response.
Makes sense. Okay, let's see. Is it expected to support RAG with PR agent open source solution? Will it only be available in the paid version? Yeah, so currently we're the kind of the RAG is the RAG support is part of our it's actually part of our offering that we call Qodo Aware. So this is RAG is a part of it, and as I mentioned earlier, we're building additional code-based awareness capabilities. So that is that's essentially a part of our paid plan. So we don't have a specific plan to support it in the free PR, in the open source, sorry, in the open source PR agent. But it's an open source. You can take it, you can use it as is. You can integrate RAG into it on your own. So regarding self-hosting, there's another question about self-hosting. So we are very flexible at Qodo in terms of like hosting. We provide a variety of options, anywhere from multi-tenant SaaS to single-tenant SaaS, where we host everything for you in your own VPC. And then we also support self-hosted deployments, where like our backend is deployed on your infrastructure. And then we can either use like our LLM provider, or you bring your own LLM provider, or even air-gapped deployments, where it's like completely air-gapped and we provide the model as part of the solution. So a lot of flexibility there. Obviously, the simplest way to go is SaaS. Let's see. What is the purpose of the estimated effort? Does anyone really need it? Yeah, no, I think the purpose is it's basically, we also use it as a tag. So when you see the list of the PRs, let's say there's like, imagine like also a world where like you use agents to generate a lot of the code. So maybe some of these PRs are auto generated by agents, and you come in the morning and there are like, I don't know, 50 new PR that are waiting for a review, and you can sort them by estimated effort, right? So that's the idea with the estimated effort. It helps you to kind of understand the complexity and the amount of effort that will be required to review the PR. From a security perspective, will the model be trained using private code stored in it? No, not at all. We don't train on your code. If you use the paid offering, for sure we don't train on any code. With the free offering, currently today we don't really train on that code, but we could technically train on the code from terms perspective, but you can always opt out. Even in the free offering, you can opt out of training. But definitely for the paid offering, we do not train on your code, and we also provide very limited, we do very limited storage of your data.
Just to
RAG
mention,
corpus on premise. That's a great question on the RAG corpus.
if I can
So
give a tiny remark about storing the data, so that's
yeah,
extremely limited amount of time, and it's practically only used in case of issues, right? To help customers when they have problems. That's the only usage of it.
yeah. So, and then regarding RAG corpus, so currently the way we do it is we enable you to set up a database. It's a Postgres database actually that you set up on your environment, and we store the RAG corpus there. We are planning to enable doing that in the single tenant as well, so we host it for you. But that will be a matter of choice. Great. I think we're past our time. So I think this is a good time to conclude. If there's any additional questions, I guess there's some questions that we didn't really get to answer. We apologize for that. But feel free to contact us, email us. We're happy to jump on meetings, do tailored demos, proof of values, and yeah, thanks everyone for joining, and hopefully this was useful. Thanks Ophir and Sergio and Ilana for setting this up.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure, and we're really looking for keep adding more Gemini to our tool in the coming future.
Yeah, go for it.
Awesome. Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Cheers.